What if the next system isn't a big fireworks moment, but something that quietly works the way it should? Pyro was chaos, Stanton was comfort. Nyx feels a bit different. It's cautious, a little unpredictable, and meant to hold together over time. We're not getting everything dropped at once and hoping it sticks. Nyx rolls out in phases, tested as it goes, and built into the rest of the universe one piece at a time. It's not flashy, but it's the kind of approach that lasts. Think of it like constructing an outpost instead of throwing up a megacity overnight. You set up the landing pads, bring in power, test the systems, and make sure it holds before expanding. If Nyx works, it won't just bridge Stanton and Pyro. It'll redefine how we travel, how we plan our routes, and how we weigh our risks. So here's the question I'm taking into 4.4. What happens when a system is built to endure instead of just impress? Nyx arrives with 4.4 in November, and it's being rolled out in stages on purpose. It'll connect to both Stanton and Pyro, then later stabilize once Castra comes online and replaces the old route. We'll be entering through Intersec contracts that follow the ASD storyline, so these aren't just random missions. They have a reason to exist and tie directly into what's already been building. The Vanduul make their return to the persistent universe for the first time since 2.0. They're not leading an invasion, but their presence reminds us that the edges of space are still dangerous. Plantech V5, also called Genesis, won't appear in the first Nyx patch, but it's lined up to shape the planets that come later. In this breakdown, I'm looking at how Nyx changes things on day one, how we'll move, where we'll go, and how much risk we're willing to take to reach what's next. The real challenge with Nyx isn't just adding another system, it's showing the universe can finally grow without falling apart. For years, every expansion came with the same trade-off. More space meant more strain. Pyro proved ambition alone isn't enough. Nyx matters because it's our first real indication of how CIG can add to a new system without going all in on ship it fast. Instead of another red Stanton, or in this case, a blue Stanton. Nyx should feel like a distinct place delivered in deliberate slices, not a reskin with new skybox colors and more varied planets. It's being built piece by piece, tied into what already exists instead of dropped in from nowhere. This is where CIG has to prove the foundation can support growth. Stability, mission flow, travel, and performance all have to line up. If one part slips, players feel it across the verse. That's what makes this rollout important. Nyx doesn't need to be huge. It needs to work. If it does, it becomes the model for every system that follows. If it doesn't, we're back to fixing what was rushed. Now there's also another layer to this. A phased rollout has to do more than not crash. It has to keep people engaged between phases. That means interstellar cargo that's worth the time, contracts that change into clear paths, and reputation that actually matters when the next piece drops. That is, of course, if they're still planning to make reputation as fundamental as they once were. Orgs will plan logistics around jump point bottlenecks, and solo players will hunt safe routes that don't waste an evening. If communication is clear and each phase adds a real utility, then the confidence of the player will continue to grow. If phases land empty, their patience will fade rather quickly. Nyx is where we learn which way this goes. Now, if this kind of deep dive helps you make sense of Star Citizen, hit subscribe. I break down features, content drops, and systems in plain language, what's changing and why it matters. No fluff, just clear takeaways that you can use the next time you log in. Nyx connects directly to both Stanton and Pyro, but that link is temporary. Once Castra comes online, the Stanton route will close, and the chain will fall into its proper order from Stanton, Pyro, Nyx, and then Castra. Now it sounds like a small thing, but it's the first real test of how the universe expands in a logical way. Every jump should have a reason, and every connection should support something larger or different. That's what Star Citizen has been missing: structure. The system also marks a continued focus on story-driven content. We'll arrive under contract with Intersec, the UE's top private military security group, following threads from the ASD storyline that started in Stanton. These missions aren't just errands, they're connected, repeatable, and grounded in the kind of narrative that gives the work purpose. You're not just hauling cargo or clearing hostiles, you're uncovering something bigger, one job at a time. The presence of the Vanduul adds another layer. They're not invading, but they exist just beyond the edges. A reminder that space isn't safe and never will be. Seeing their ships again, even at distance, gives Nyx a different tone that makes you think twice before cutting through the wrong sector. It feels less like a sandbox and more like a real region with borders, dangers, and consequence. Honestly, I'm so happy to see them being added to the verse, and only hope that we can fight them on foot soon. Then there's the Rock Cracker mission. It's one of those ideas that likely sounds simple until you try it. You find an abandoned station in the Glacium Belt, bring it back online, and use its machinery to split open an asteroid from the inside. It's part mining, part repair, and part defense, because once you power it up, every player and pirate in the area knows you're there. It's the kind of mission that forces players to think as a crew instead of individuals. Someone gets power up and running, someone fires the laser, and someone may guard the entry. It wouldn't be scripted teamwork. It would be survival and profit through cooperation. And while Planetech V5, or rather Genesis, won't arrive in the first Nyx patch, it's already waiting in the background. When it does come online, it'll shape the system's planets with smarter terrain, more believable landscapes, and more efficient performance. That means smoother exploration, fewer technical limits, and a universe that looks and feels more consistent across every world. And it just looks damn good, almost like it's not even the same game. What makes Nyx stand out isn't how much it adds, but how it adds it. It's a system designed to test if Star Citizen can finally grow in a controlled way. Not by pushing the boundaries, but by reinforcing them. It's not trying to wow anyone. It's trying to work. And after a decade of dreaming, that might be exactly what the game needs. There are also practical choices to make on day one. Interstellar cargo will tempt you to chase tight timers, but route planning and fuel margins could possibly matter more than raw speed. Some contracts will be safer through Pyro with a heavy escort. Others, cheaper through Stanton if you accept higher traffic and more competition. Rockcracker will reward clean staging and quiet exits over fighting every ship that shows up. Even the light Vanduul presence changes loadouts and possibly even ship choice. None of this is dramatic on its own. Together, it nudges the whole game toward decisions that feel considered instead of rushed. So here's where it comes together. Nyx is not trying to win the room with pure spectacle. It's trying to prove that expansion can be steady and reliable. The first patch doesn't bring its planets, likely because they're not quite ready. That's fine if what we do get holds up under use. If jump links behave, if Intersec missions chain cleanly, if Rockcracker creates real decisions for small groups and orgs once it arrives, then we could finally have a model that can scale without tearing seams open entirely. What makes the shift from the norm is not any single feature. It's the pattern. Contracts that continue the story that we already started, another sandbox activity that puts more emphasis on group gameplay, and a light Vanduul presence that changes risk without swallowing the whole system. Together it says the team is building a universe that respects our time and effort. Think about how people actually play. Most of us are planning a night around one or two goals. A clean route, a contract that pays well enough to justify the fuel and risk, and a mission we can hand to friends who are still learning. If Nyx supports that kind of session from week one, players will keep coming back because it respects how we live in this game. And that's the moment I care about. Not the first look, but the second and third. If Nyx feels better the more you use it, then the next phases can arrive without fear that they topple what came before. And I believe that's the shift we've been needing. Not necessarily bigger, but stronger than before. Nyx is a quiet test of discipline. It links now, it stabilizes later, and it arrives with work that has context. The planets will follow when Genesis is ready, and when they do, they should slot into a system that already functions, instead of trying to carry the whole load on day one. If this rollout keeps performance steady, especially with Vulcan multi-threading support coming, keeps missions reliable and keeps routes sensible, and if both external and internal freight elevators are fixed so they don't cause more issues like they have been, then it becomes the template for every expansion after it. If it stumbles, we're back to patching holes with live updates. The difference will be obvious within the first weeks. Watch how players route cargo, where orgs stage, and whether people finish a session saying they want one more run. That will tell you if the design is working. But what are you planning for day one in Nyx? Are you taking Intersec contracts to feel out the mission flow, mining the most valuable materials, or heading straight into interstellar cargo missions? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. If you've got thoughts on routes, staging ships, or setups that make sense for the first phase, drop them in the comments as well. If these deep dives help you plan smarter and save time in the verse, consider joining as a channel member. Members get recognition in all of my videos, access to our private Discord channels, and even early access to my upcoming sci-fi novel I'm building. It directly supports the work and keeps things running. And if you want more right now, watch the engineering and resource management breakdown next and what it will bring to the future. It'll be extremely important once the tech preview launches for engineering. As always, thanks for watching. Fly safe, pilots, and I'll see you in the verse. Havoc out.